Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, like my video, put all your comments and just suggestions in the section below, and please check out all my other content once you're done watching this video. And as you can see from the title and from the thumbnail, Republicans do have a very high chance of winning the Senate. I'd say probably close to that 100% chance. And in this video, I will explain to you guys my map and my Senate map for the 2024 elections and why Republicans basically have an almost guaranteed chance of flipping the Senate. And right now, the Senate map is pretty even. It is around 51 to 49 for Democrats. And the difference between the 2020 Senate races and the 2024 Senate races, as well as the 2022 Senate races, is that this time around, a lot more Democrat incumbents are going for re-election or up for re-election. As we can see here, the candidates that are not going for re-election, so ones that are not having any races this time around, 28 Democrat seats are not up for re-election and 38 Republican seats are not up for re-election. So right away off the bat, Republicans do have a strong advantage with 10 more of their seats being not up for re-election. And if we look at this map, we're going to see a lot of states that Donald Trump is either going to win or competitive in which Democrat incumbents are here. As we can see here in the 2018 race, which is the exact same map as now, every single 6 years, these same races go up. And as we can see here, we have states like Arizona, Nevada, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, even Virginia. All of them have Democrat incumbents, and all of them are states, apart from Virginia, that Donald Trump is either going to win or could win. And for starters, I mean, the state of Virginia, the state of West Virginia, sorry, is a state that has a Democrat incumbent. He is not going to run this time. He's seeking retirement. And the current governor of West Virginia is going to run and win this probably by even up to 30 points. So that would already be one flip for Republicans and would put it at 50-50. And if Donald Trump wins the presidency, they have the Senate. But Republicans don't need to even rely on Donald Trump to win the presidency, because in the state of Montana, Jon Tester, who had won by less than 4 points in a blue wave year of 2018, he is up for re-election, and he is facing against Tim Sheehy. And Tim Sheehy is very popular in his own state. He's very well known now in Montana, and polls are showing him winning the state by upwards of 5 to 6. And I can see there being no reason how Jon Tester would be able to hold his own in that state when Donald Trump will be winning the state by up to 20. And then going down even further to Ohio, another state that a Democrat, Sherrod Brown, has had held by around 6 to 7 points in 2018. This time around, with a president on the ballot, it is going to be a lot harder for him to direct a lot of these Trump voters to vote for him. And that's the main theme. This map is going to be completely different this time around because it is not a presidential year. All the voters that voted for Trump in 2016 may not have even turned out in this election. The turnout was a lot less, and that's usually how it goes in midterm years. Meanwhile, in presidential years, when you have a Senate candidate on that same ballot, you're most likely going to put the same party. A lot of these voters in West Virginia, it is a R+30 state. A lot of them voted for the Democrat. And since Donald Trump was not on the ballot, they wouldn't have to split their ticket. Same thing with Montana. And that's mainly what has been going on here. We also see here on Polymarket, Republicans have a 74% chance to win the Senate. And that they have them flipping, obviously, Montana, 78% chance. And West Virginia, 98% chance. And that's it. And that's all they need to win the Senate. That would give them 51 seats. They wouldn't even have to do any more. But obviously, we have states like Ohio at a 50-50 chance of flipping, according to Polymarket. And you have other states that Trump is doing very well in, that Democrat senators are a lot more favored in. But an upset is still possible for sure. So we're definitely going to get to see that. And we're going to go to this map now and fill out our margins here, starting with the safe states. These are states 12 and over. They're going to stay in the safe column no matter what. And for Democrats, it's going to be all these states up here in the East Coast, as well as California, Washington, Hawaii, and the state of Maine. Keep in mind, the states of Vermont and Maine are run by independents. These are third-party candidates, Bernie Sanders, Angus King, but they do caucus with the Democrats, so they are considered part of the Democrat Party. We have other states like Washington that's going to be safe, California that's going to be safe, New York as well. However, it won't be as safe as what we're used to. And then for Republicans, safe states include Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, both of Nebraska Senate elections. We have Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, Indiana, and in our first flip, as we said before, the state of West Virginia, an automatic flip for the Republicans. And that puts them all the way up at 48, and Democrats are still at 38. And I'm going to add the state of Minnesota into that Democratic safe column. We have Amy Klobuchar, very, very popular incumbent. See, she won last time by a whopping 20-something point margin. She will not win by around 24 this time because, once again, it is a presidential election year, and those margins are pretty unheard of during presidential election years. But I think she's still going to win by around 12 to 15 points, outrunning Kamala Harris by quite a few percentage points. As you guys notice, the state of New Jersey will not be going to that safe column. You have Bob Menendez, a very unpopular Democratic incumbent. He is not running for re-election, but that has definitely fractured a lot of the Democratic Party's influence in the state. And I expect this time around, the state will fall into that likely column. It's a different story with the state of Maryland. We're very used to Democrats absolutely destroying Republicans in every election in the state of Maryland. But we do have a former governor of the state of Maryland. We have Hogan here, Larry Hogan. He is running for Senate. He is most likely going to lose according to most of these polls. However, he is making this race fairly close, and I think he's going to lose by a likely margin between 6 and 12, similar margins to New Jersey. And since we're on those likely states, let's go out and finish them and fill out the states of Texas and Florida for the Republicans. Both these states are not going to be as close as some of the polls might show. The latest one for Florida shows Scott only up by 1. On average is up by 4.3. He's going to win by at least 6 points. Same thing with the state of Texas, where Cruz is up by 6. He also is going to win by more than 6 points. And these elections back then in 2018, during a blue wave year, were definitely close. Ted Cruz definitely got a run for his money. He won by 2 points. And then Rick Scott actually flipped the seat from Bill Nelson. He won by the slightest margin, around 10,000 votes to be exact. And that will be that for Republicans. Democrats will have one more likely seat. The state of New Mexico will also be going into that likely column. This state is not going to be heavily contested too much on that Senate race. You have Heinrich, who's facing off against Dominici. He is up right now 9.5% in the polls. Last time around, he won by a pretty impressive margin. Gary Johnson, the Libertarian, did take away a lot of votes from both of them, probably more from Mark Rich. But either way, this is a state that's going to go to Democrats fairly easily. And now we're faced with the more competitive map, and these are the states that are going to be contested a little bit more. I want to first go to the state of Virginia. And Virginia right now, I'm going to put in the lean column, but on that much higher end. I really want to put Virginia into that column, in the likely column, because these polls are looking very good for Tim Kaine. However, the latest poll, which is a very, very good one, to say the least, one that's a gold standard for the state of Virginia. We actually mentioned this poll in the same race versus Trump and Harris, in which Harris is only up by 1 to 2. So in the Senate race, we see Kaine outrunning Harris by at least 4 points. He is up by 6 in the latest one. I think right now he's going to win between 5 and 6. And I'm really tempted to put it into that likely margin. But once again, we need to get a few more numbers and one more poll to come out for us to be really sure. In 2018, Tim Kaine did win by a humongous 16-point margin. But once again, a lot of these states will not be those crazy margins for the Democrats, because this was a blue wave year and because this was a midterm year and is not the same at all as presidential years. And then we're going to have some other states in the Rust Belt. We're going to have Montana, and we're going to have Nevada and Arizona. And these are going to be the closest races, especially the states of Arizona, Nevada, and Ohio. I'm going to get Montana out of the way real quick and put it in that lean column. I think Jon Tester is going to go down. Once again, most people say he's going to go down. He has a 78% chance of losing. And in the polls, he is also losing. He's down by, I believe, 5 points. Yeah, 5.2% against Sheehy. Every single poll has had him down in the past few months, ever since the summer polls have come out. These are very, very old. These are from February and from last year. But ever since Sheehy has gotten his name out there, he has been leading every poll that has come out. And Sheehy's going to end up coming out winning by this probably similar margin. but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning by a likely margin. Right now, I'm going to keep it in that lean margin, and that would give Republicans the race right there. Republicans would have 51 seats. Democrats are still stuck at 43, and this is why Republicans are so favored to win the Senate. Democrats have no path to win the Senate unless they really contest the state of Montana. But once again, from all that data, there is no chance whatsoever that Democrats really are going to win the state of Montana. As we see Donald Trump on that ballot, he is probably going to win the state by up to 20. So right there, looking very bad for the current Senator, Jon Tester, in the state of Montana. But let's go back now to Nevada and Arizona, two states that Donald Trump is doing very well in the polls. He leads in Arizona by 1.6. And then Nevada is almost a complete tie. However, in these Senate races, the polls are a lot more favored for Democrats. In the state of Nevada, we have Brown versus Rosen. Rosen is an incumbent Democrat senator, and she is up 8.8 points and has led every single poll released between those two. It has tightened a little bit, but once again, she does lead by outside the margin of error. And in 2018, she did win by 5 points. She will not win by 8.8 percentage points. However, I do think she's going to win still in that lean column. Down to the state of Arizona, we have a state that Democrats flipped in 2018. Kyrsten Sinema won by around 2.5 points. She had eventually switched to an independent, and now she is not running at all. She has dropped from the race. And then we have Gallego replacing her as the Democrat, and someone we're very used to, Carrie Lake, being the Republican candidate this time. The race has gotten closer. Gallego is up by 4.3. It originally was very high at around 8 to 7, and I saw no shot in Lake even winning. But since Trump is doing so well in the state, and since the polls have tightened, it has become more of a possibility that she does stand a chance in the state. But I'm still going to give it to Gallego in that tilt column. I think, meanwhile, Trump could win the state by a lean margin. She'll end up underperforming Trump by around 3 points and lose the state by less than 1 point against Gallego. And now we're back to the Rust Belt. And before we get to these three crucial, important states, let's fill out the state of Ohio. And Ohio is one of the states that people aren't really sure is going to go. Sherrod Brown, the incumbent senator, is seeking another term. He did win last time in 2018 by around 6 to 7. He is fairly popular, fairly moderate, so the state as a whole does not hate him. And the polls we do see in the state of Ohio do have him up by a narrow margin, 3.6%. That has shrunken a lot from the past. A lot of those polls in the past have indicated that he will win in those mid-single digits. Meanwhile, the ones now show him winning in those lower single digits. There are still a lot of undecideds. None of them have even cracked 47%. So this race is up for grabs. And I think right now, despite polls favoring Sherrod Brown, I think right now that the Republican Moreno is going to win by a lean margin. Trump's going to win the state by a safe margin up to 12 points, and he'll probably lag behind at around 2 to 5 percentage points, and that will give Republicans 52 seats. But Democrats will catch up. I think they'll win the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, all in the lean column right now. Those three will vote pretty similarly. In these Senate races, we have Wisconsin right now consistently having Baldwin up. She is an incumbent senator. The margins have shrunk a little bit over time. She still leads by a lean margin, and she is at 50%. I do think she is going to win. Same thing with the state of Michigan, where we have Slotkin also running. There is no incumbent here since the incumbent did retire. So I think Slotkin is going to beat Rogers right now also by a lean margin. And then we have the state of Pennsylvania, very popular incumbent, Casey, running against McCormick. And right now, this is the most surprising one out of all of them because of how close the last poll is. This is a Washington Post poll that has it as a tie. This race has been going up and down. It had shrunk to a 3-point lead and then expanded back up again to 4.5 points. And I think at the end of the day, similar with the states of Michigan and Wisconsin, that the Democrats will come on top between 2 and 4 points. And once again, these could change, but right now these polls look really good for Democrats, and it is a huge underperformance from their 2018 margins, where Tammy Baldwin won by 11, Stabenow won by around 7, and Bob Casey won by around 13. So these are a lot closer margins than the previous years. And the reason why it will be so much closer but not flip is because I believe these Senate candidates, these Senate Democrats will outrun Kamala Harris by a little bit. While I do believe Donald Trump will win the state of Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, for example, I do think Democrats will outrun them by enough to flip the state, just narrowly, because, you know, if you have Trump winning Wisconsin by 1 point and then you have the Democrat winning the state by around 1 to 2, that would make complete sense. Ticket splitting is very low nowadays, and usually a 2 point, 3 point, maybe even up to 4 point ticket split is not really that uncommon, while states like Montana with those ticket splittings that could be up to 15 to 20 points are fairly impossible nowadays. But either way, this is our map, 52 to 48, and this is why the Republicans have a pretty much guaranteed chance to win the Senate, and why they most likely will. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like my video, share all my content with all your friends, put all your suggestions in this section below, and I will check you guys out in the next one.